Hello, welcome back. Let us continue where we stopped. Uh, Remember, we're still on topic 1, agriculture form 1, which is natural resources. Last time we defined what natural resources are. Apart from that, we listed examples of natural resources, more especially those which influence agricultural production. Apart from that, we also looked on the importances of each and every natural resource which influence agricultural production. And now, let us proceed where we stopped. And we're continuing with the depletion of natural resources. If we say depletion of natural resources, what do we mean? This refers to the use of natural resources to exhaustion without replacing them. Of course, natural resources are very important in as far as agricultural production is concerned, and we're supposed to use those natural resources. But if you use those natural resources too much, they will be exhausted. If we do not replace them, that is. So they'll be exhausted. So that's what the meaning of the term depletion of natural resources. So almost each and every natural resource which we listed last time, for example, water, air, vegetation, even soil, can be exhausted. But most of the times, these natural resources which I have mentioned can be exhausted through the activities of man. Let us now look on the ways in which natural resources that influence agricultural production can be depleted. Number one, these natural resources can be depleted through deforestation. Deforestation is the cutting down of trees carelessly. So if you cut down those trees, number one, you are going to deplete vegetation as one of the natural resource. Apart from that, you can also deplete soil. Once the land is bare, it will be easy for the top layer of the soil to be wiped away. Apart from that, we have poor farming practices. Poor farming practices. As I mentioned earlier on that, most of these natural resources, they get depleted through man's activities. And one of the man activity is which can lead to depletion of natural resources is poor farming practices. More especially when it comes to the natural resource water and soil. Apart from that, it's rapid population growth. Rapid population growth. This is one of the way in which natural resources that influence agricultural production can be depleted. And of course, improper use of agricultural inputs and industrial chemicals. These may also lead to depletion of natural resources. And lastly, soil erosion. Let us start with the first way through which natural resources can be depleted, which is deforestation. Most of the times, if we say deforestation, we're talking of clearing of forests or cutting down of trees carelessly. So this most of the times is done to create a room for buildings and construction of other infrastructures. Therefore, this deforestation has led to, number one, loss of habitat for organisms. Organisms, these are also natural resources. So, if deforestation can lead to loss of habitat for organisms. It means we may lead to depletion of those organisms. As you know, some of the organisms, they will live in this vegetation. Apart from that, this may also lead to loss of water catchment area. This may lead to loss of water catchment areas. And also, soils become prone to erosion. As I mentioned earlier on, if we cut down trees, or if we clear vegetation, the land will remain bare. So it will be easy for any agent of erosion to come in and carry the top layer of the soil. And also the same deforestation may lead to global warming, and as a result, there will be increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, climate change through increased temperatures. Another way through which natural resources can be depleted is poor farming practices. As you know, soil is the major natural resource that is highly affected by poor farming practices. So these poor farming practices may include cultivating along the riverbanks. This, of course, may lead to siltation in the rivers. If that happens, there may be flooding, then destroying other natural resources like vegetation or crops. Apart from that, overstocking is one of the poor farming practices. If you are taming too much livestock, that may lead to overgrazing, and that can cause clearing of vegetation, making the soil to be bare, therefore prone to soil erosion, destroying both vegetation as well as soil natural resource. Another one is monocropping. Monocropping mostly will deplete the natural resource soil. If you are cultivating only one type of crop for a long period of time on a piece of land, most of the times you might consume most of the or the same type of mineral salts, thereby making the soil to be exhausted. And also overcultivation. Overcultivation will also destroy the natural source soil. And plowing on steep slope. Steep slope, this should be marginal areas. One not supposed to cultivate them, just because once you cultivate on steep slope, definitely the land is prone to erosion. It will be easy for the top layer of the soil to be carried away, causing soil erosion, hence depleting the soil natural soil. Another way through which natural resources can be depleted is improper use of agricultural inputs and industrial chemicals. Most of the times this may cause water pollution, and this also has led to increased growth of aquatic plants and decreased oxygen levels in the water. And also this has led to loss of habitat for aquatic animals such as fish. Then soil erosion, as already mentioned, is also one of the ways through which natural resources can be depleted. As you can see the term soil erosion, it means the mastermind natural resource which can be depleted there is soil. So soil erosion leads to loss of nutrients, resulting in low soil productivity. Anyway, if we say soil erosion is the removal of the top layer of the soil, and in agriculture, the top layer of the soil is the one which may have a good amount of nutrients to support the growing crops. So if the top layer of the soil is removed, that's what we call soil erosion. It may lead to loss of nutrients, resulting in low soil productivity. Apart from that soil erosion, if most of the top layers of the soils have been carried away, they may expose plant roots, leading to plant logging. And also, it leads to siltation of water bodies. Once the top layer of the soil are carried, they may be deposited into water bodies. So that's why I was saying that it leads to siltation of water bodies, leading to drying of those water bodies. And lastly, the same soil erosion may also lead to loss of beneficial soil organisms like bacteria, those ones which will help in decomposition process. And the last way through which natural resources can be depleted, that's the fourth way, rapid population growth. The ever-increasing human population has increased demand for arable land to produce food for the population. As the population is increasing, we expect increased demand for arable land to produce food for the population. And this has led to increased pressure on natural resources so as to sustain this population. Therefore, there is also over-exploitation of natural resources for economic benefits. For example, this growing population will need timber, the growing population will need fuel from trees, and also there will be clearing of trees to create construction space. As the population is increasing, the more the services will be needed. For example, we'll be needing schools, therefore there will be need for the construction of those schools. There will be need for hospitals, therefore there will be need for construction of those hospitals. So in order for those buildings or infrastructures to be constructed, there will be need of timber, hence clearing of trees to create those constructions. Even though these natural resources can be depleted, but it is possible to conserve these natural resources. So here we are. Let us look on how best can we conserve these natural resources. As we know, they are very, very important in agriculture. So there is need of us not to deplete them, but rather to conserve them so that we really rely on them throughout our entire lives. If we say conservation, this is the act of protecting and taking care of the natural resources in the environment to avoid their decline, exhaustion, and degradation. So that's the meaning of conservation, the act of protecting and taking care of the natural resources in the environment to avoid their decline, exhaustion, and degradation. Let us now look on some of the ways of conserving natural resources. One of the ways through which natural resources can be conserved is by planting trees and grasses, more especially in bare land. What natural resource can we conserve there? Obviously, soil. If you plant the trees and grasses on bare land, at least the soils will be conserved. Remember, last we were just mentioning on how some of the natural resources can be depleted. We mentioned of soil erosion as one of the way through which some natural resources can be depleted. So most of the time soil erosion, as I already mentioned, happens much on the bare land. So if you plant trees and grasses, at least we can conserve soil. Apart from that, mulching. Mulching is a matter of putting some grasses or some organic matter on top of the soil. This will be protecting the soil from erosion, more especially splash erosion. If that is the case, mulching therefore will help conserve natural source soil. And also, mulching as well will also help to conserve natural source water, just because mulching will reduce too much evaporation of water from the land. Practicing zero tillage or no-till agriculture is also one of the way of conserving natural source. Here we're also talking natural source soil. Zero tillage most of the times is encouraged so as not to disturb soil structure. Most of the times the soils can be destroyed if we destroy their structure, the soil structure. So if we practice zero tillage or no-till agriculture, this will minimize the tillage of the soil, also minimizing destruction of soil structure, hence conserving soil. Apart from that, use of organic manure. On use of organic manure will conserve both soil as well as water. Both soil as well as water. These organic matter, once you apply them on the soil, they will improve the soil structure, therefore increasing infiltration of water, conserving water. Apart from that, at least the soil will also not be eroded. Making fire breaks. Making fire breaks will conserve soil, just because those fire may no longer destroy vegetation. It means the soils will not be bare, therefore not at risk or prone to soil erosion. Apart from that, the same fire breaks. If the fire may not appear on vegetation, it means we are going to conserve natural source vegetation there. And also not forgetting some living organisms. Some of the living organisms, they cannot survive at extremely high temperature, like the temperature of fire. Therefore, we are going to conserve also these organisms. Making contour bands as one of the way of conserving natural source. These contour bands are constructed. We're talking of big ridges, maybe across the field. Those big ridges, they are constructed so that they at least control the speed of runoff. They control the speed of runoff. If runoff is at high speed, most of the times it will be easy to carry the top layer of the soil. But if the speed is minimized, at least the soils cannot be carried away, hence conserving those soils. And also that will also help conserve water, since if we control or minimize the speed of runoff, most of the water will be infiltrating into the soil. The same applies making ridges across the slope. This will also minimize the speed of runoff, therefore conserving soil. Also, the same also applies constructing box ridges. This will control soil erosion. Apart from that, will increase the infiltration of water in the soil, therefore conserving both soil and water. and also constructing storm drains. These storm drains will be directing the water into natural waterways. Therefore, the water will not just be flowing anyhow in the field, minimizing their speed, therefore conserving both soil and water. Industry constructing dams as well as fish ponds. If you construct dams, at least will be conserving water there, which may help to conserve those water. And lastly, grass strips. Of course, on grass strips, you just plant grass in lines. Of course, leaving some gaps where you'll be cultivating your crops. So those grass lines at least will be controlling the speed of run off, therefore conserving both soil and water. As you can see here, these are some of the pictures. These are some of the pictures of some of the ways which can help conserve uh, uh, some natural resources. For example, this picture here is for contour bands. So you construct large regions, these big regions. So these big regions, you leave a gap in between where you will be planting your crops. So these big regions, since they are big, they will be reducing the speed of runoff, the speed of runoff. The same applies with the grass strips. As I was saying, you make a line where you plant the grass, then you leave the gap where you'll be planting your crops. Then you also make another line of strip grass, you leave a gap, you make a line of grass strips where you plant grass, then you leave a gap like that. So the strip of grass here is the one which will be reducing the speed of run off, therefore conserving both soil and water. This picture here is the box regions, sometimes also known as tie regions, whereby you have the main region, you construct the main regions, these are the main regions. Then apart from that, you make some tiny regions to connect the two big regions. So if you can see clearly, they look like boxes. That's why maybe the terminology there, box regions. So as the rain will be coming, these regions, both large ones and the small ones, will be blocking the water from flowing off the boxes. So they'll just be concentrated in the boxes. Therefore, in that case, it means the speed of runoff will also be reduced. So if the speed of runoff is reduced, that will minimize the soil erosion. That will minimize soil erosion, and hence increasing infiltration of water. Lastly, let us look on the effects of rapid population increase on natural resources and the environment. As you know, nowadays the population is really increasing rapidly, and this has really affected natural resources and the environment. So, continued human population growth has put pressure on the limited natural resources with increased demand for arable land and land for construction. This has caused the destruction of environment, leading to number 1, land degradation, pollution, cultivating marginal lands, deforestation, as well as desertification. In short, these are some of the effects of rapid population increase on natural resources and the environment. So, we're going to describe one by one effect of rapid population increase on natural resources. We're going to describe on how each effect, which we have listed here, 5 of them, has really affected natural resources. Number 1, let us start with land degradation. Population increase in Malawi has led to land degradation in several ways. Number 1, through construction of buildings and roads on the productive farmlands, leading to shortage of arable land, hence shortage of food. So, due to increase in population growth, there is need of constructing buildings. For example, schools, school buildings, houses where those people will be living. We talk of markets, we talk of hospitals, even roads. So most of the productive farmlands are being used up to construct those buildings and roads, leading to shortage of arable land. So what will happen if we are running short of arable land? It means that huge population now, they will all be cultivating on those small pieces of land. They'll be cultivating on those small pieces of land, leading to continuous cultivation or over cultivation. Therefore, the land will be degraded. There will be loss in value of land, hence shortage of food. Apart from that, under the same land degradation, there will be intensive land cultivation leading to soil erosion and loss of fertility, and hence reduce land productivity. As of mentioning, if there is high population, that will lead to shortage of arable land. So if there is shortage of arable land, there will be intensive land cultivation leading to soil erosion and loss of soil fertility. Apart from that, the same land degradation population increase will also lead to a reduction in wood and fish harvest. Since we are too many, therefore there will be reduction in wood. Most of the trees will be cut down. Therefore, we will not have enough wood to satisfy the growing population. And also, this land degradation is also due to overstocking. This overstocking will lead to overgrazing, So, because of that, that will make the grounds hard and they will be exposed to soil erosion agents. Since they will be bare, all the vegetation will be consumed by these farm animals. So the land will be exposed to soil erosion agents. So calm wind will easily wipe away, blow away the top layer of the soil. Calm rain will easily carry the top layer of the soil. Let us now look on pollution. Pollution also has come due to increase in population growth. Population increase has resulted in increased pollution of air, pollution of water, and pollution of land, more especially from agricultural chemicals which are used to improve soil productivity. So too much chemicals which we are using, let's say if we want to control pests and diseases, then we use pesticides. So we spray them in the air, polluting the air. We spray them and the water, polluting the water. Those fertilizers which we apply in the land are polluting the land. So this all is due to increase in population. We want to improve soil productivity. We know that the soils are exhausted, but still more we need enough harvest from land. So what do? We use those chemicals. We apply those too much chemicals like fertilizers so that we can achieve productivity. And also growth of urban and industries to support the increased population size has also resulted in increased volumes of both organic and chemical waste from households and industries that will pollute the environment, making it hazardous to people, livestock, and natural vegetation. So the growing population, it means they'll also lead to growth of urban and industries. So there'll be growth of cities as well as growth of industries. The main reason why there'll be growth of industries is to support the increasing population, So we know what those industries do. They will use the raw materials, what and what, but in order for them to come up with the finished products, it means they'll be having some waste. So those waste they'll pile up, polluting the environment. Then increasing population growth has led to cultivating marginal lands. So intensification of agriculture by increased human preparation has led to cultivation of marginal land that are not originally suited for cultivation. In the country or in the world, there are some of the places which are not meant to be cultivated. There are some of the places which are not meant to be cultivated. So those places which are not meant to be cultivated, in short, we can just call them marginal lands. But the population is increasing rapidly. We're running shortage of arable lands to cultivate. What can people do now? They will also be forced to cultivate those lands which are not meant to be cultivated, like marginal lands. So examples of these marginal lands we are talking about here is like very steep slopes. Very steep slopes. We talk of hills, for example. We talk of hills. Those hills, just because their steep slope is the slope is very steep, we're not supposed to cultivate. Why? If we soften those soils in the hills, on the hills, they will easily be carried away by running water. Just because on the slope, the water will be moving fast. So there is increased runoff on steep slope if we cut down those trees. So on the hills, we're not meant to cultivate them, but we are forced to cultivate those on those hills due to increase in population. Apart from that, along the river banks, those river banks are also, along the river banks, we're also not supposed to cultivate, just because we expect along the river banks to, so that we should have some vegetation, so that at least they will protect the river to be flowing as it was supposed to be. But now we're running shortage of land to cultivate. People now, they just cultivate anywhere, including the river banks. That is why we see too much siltation happening in rivers and leading to drying of those rivers. So many consequences out of that. So those are the effects anyway. Apart from that, cultivation of wetlands. Cultivation of wetlands. In the wetlands, we are not supposed to cultivate them, but we are forced to cultivate them, hence leading to loss of habitat, aquatic lives, and also destruction of water catchment areas. So this now cultivation of marginal lands, it has therefore also led to water pollution, hence endangering the life of humans, livestock, as well as wildlife. Deforestation is also one of the effects due to increase in population growth. Increased population growth has resulted to conversion of forest land to arable land for settlement and for farming. As I've already said that if the population is increasing rapidly, those people will be needing a place to settle. Those people will need a place to farm. So if they find a forest there, they feel like the land is it's the waste of land. So what they do is that they just cut down those trees and they start to build their houses there or even start to farm there. This is really the problem which has come due to increase in population growth. And also deforestation has led to indiscriminate cutting down of trees. Rapid population growth has led to indiscriminate cutting down of trees. And also, if the population is increasing, there is also high demand for wood for construction, for fuel wood, as well as charcoal, which has also led to deforestation. And do you know what is the consequence of deforestation there? Deforestation now will expose soil to erosion agents, leading to loss of topsoil, top fertile soil, and increased runoff, hence reducing underground water storage. Because of that, deforestation may lead to spread of deserts, hence shortage of water, since there will be less water catchment areas since they are destroyed, and eventually the soil become infertile. Now let us look on the last part, which is desertification. If we say desertification, this is conversion of once vegetated land to bare land. Of course, it results from human activities, as I think we have already highlighted such human activities which may lead to desertification. For example, overgrazing due to overstocking, deforestation, as well as poor agricultural practices such as slash and burn system. This desertification has therefore led to loss of land productivity, hence increased drought, famine, and eventually death of livestock, wildlife, and people due to shortage of food. That makes the end of the topic natural resources. Just to refresh our memory, remember we have discussed a number of issues on natural resources. First, we defined what natural resources are. Then we listed the 5 important natural resources which influence agricultural production. Then we also explained the importance of those 5 natural resources which influence agricultural production. And we mentioned that these natural resources, they can be depleted. So we looked on some of the ways through which these natural resources can be depleted. But the good part is that we say that it is possible, even though these natural resources can be depleted, but it is possible to conserve them. So we'll also discuss only some of the ways on which these natural resources can be conserved. And lastly, we've also looked at the mastermind high human population growth. High human population growth. So we've looked on the effects of increase in population growth on natural resources and the environment. And now, from the topic, I think it is important for us to answer the following questions. These are some of the questions which we need to answer, all of them, all of these questions. If you answer these questions, we are sure that you understood the lesson. Up to question 8. Up to question 8. If you have a problem somewhere or the response, you can send via the WhatsApp number down there. Our next topic in agriculture, book 1, form 1, will be on agricultural research. Till then, let us meet next time.
Simutaya nthawi yanu kufunafuna maphunziro muzakhala wotumidwa moyo wanu wonse. Ngati simuphunzira anthu azingokutumani ajala kalime ajala kuchwe manyazi ajala katende yanti ndipo anthu ophunzira wandu wotuma so kwambiri. Ndiye ngati simuphunzira skulu akuyikirani apa mukhala otumidwa.